Hello, Judge Napolitano and YouTube. There are people from Washington, D.C., and the World Trade Center, and the court next to it, and other courts, who will increasingly have roles of people who kept putting my comment, including if that was them or not, and the difference with the name Ray Cololo and the syntax. And he used the word immature and dude. He's involved with a whole bunch of people on and off Hartford Hospital, increasingly involved with crime scenes and murders and shootings and overt criminal enterprises and private ones and agencies that use with the family members, also of courts, judges, prosecutors, with the same house of wire crimes with them, falsified police reports, fake conversations with me as a kid and now as an adult, as on a mass scale. People associated with communications locations pretend they don't believe that police can't be trusted to go in there and communicate with them because already they were attached to fake communications with me as an adult and then as a kid too, involved with that, hiding live progressions. There are people with the name Mendez. These are also intercultural and intracultural and interculture, intra hate groups and inter hate groups and counters to them as collusions. These are black themed, white themed military police involved with hiding. There were rape threats made to me. And then a judge asked me, like non verbally from a distance, because she didn't want to hurt me. A black female judge. There are black, white female judges involved with male judges and the Britain Superior Court and other courts and throughout the country, well, on off the state judicial branch offices, on off the state corrections offices, involved wire crimes with a whole bunch of people tied to the same house. Slash S involved with it. Increasingly, it has something to do with their roles with Town Line Drive and the corners of Town Line Drive and the South Street Highway and the corners of Wells Road and the South Street Highway, all around along Route 175, and that main street that turns into it, where George Washington had to come to counter extort at the last of the 13 positions, other founders who were themselves fact human nature, tortured, extorted, and enslaved. All exceptions in exception nature that appeared to be in demonstration of other were in demonstration of the same things. They're also in demonstration of things like how a breaching method was responsible for it. But those demonstrations by nature instead were being and having been blamed on other things, others, or on selves. And where that is happening now, that is roles increasingly blaming that having been. Why people didn't like each other or not has nothing to do if they're dictators or if they are democracies or not. All exceptions in exception nature that appear to be in demonstration of other have to do with where and how this employed all natures of expertise as a bridge to sciences, roles, self value with that or that person or that group, even if it is a majority of people, even if it is a majority of countries. It is sensed and that is accounted for black people. It is not by accident. People blame things that the breaching method caused on other things, on others or themselves, pretending they don't realize, like prejudice. The breaching method caused prejudice. It put crazy laws against everyone that forced it. And if you complained about it, that was against the law too. You had to pretend it's normal. You had to pretend the processes of the legislation, the processes of communication were normal. Every location slash S, every location was being used remotely, criminally foreign influence into an extent still is. Look at New York City. The suburbs were designed before our founders were born. For again, before the torture of, for the extortion of, and for the factory nature slavery of American founders. Pounding drums. See, president slash chief. Some of the presidents, too, people who came from the best colleges and universities. The difference of that, too, is sometimes worse, differentially worse ways used. In other words, not one campus has been liberated. Not one person communicated for James Madison properly for his agreement with George Washington. The difference between our founders as him in the face of them and their agreement and their plan with George Washington, which he agreed to. But we still have we have collusions with overt criminal enterprises, private leads, overtly, totally recorded. Private ones, child offenders, elderly offenders, right? Open, overtly, slash insidiously. You blame things on money. When was the breaching method left out of the conversation where the breaching method employed natures of wealth? More so than our founders did. Where's many things were left out because they were also simultaneously replaced. The nature of debate contains uses of names, uses of guilt assignments. Weathersfield Board of Education involved McGraw-Hill. Nothing against McGraw-Hill. That's not the company I was talking about. I was talking about there's a Texas company, and it's not bad against them or good. I'm just to say there are interstates. There are companies involved with the health care of the kids under the guise of health care. Ones with police forms as badges. Or involved also sometimes differentially, it's the ones with gavels, with pens as prosecutors. Victims advocates, all natures of employments with the courts, with their sense and sensibilities, with their syntax, with where they want to feel good about themselves, or where they speak because they're saying they want to speak. Other people who can feel good about themselves, or where they want to feel bad about themselves, or have other people feel bad about themselves. Is still employed exactly the way the breaching method employed it, black pupils. They have blamed other things, others ourselves, for where and how overtly slash insidiously or simultaneously. Denials of the tactical denatured, the relativity of the tactically denatured suburbs with answers for nature, let alone the tactically denatured cities, only allowed to unfold by that breaching method that only allowed to unfold natures of unity and simultaneously natures of independence that were using positives and negatives exactly the way it needed as criminal insidious natures of positive and negative uses. There are no excuses. In other words, if there's not enough money to fix New York City and there's hunger problems, then obviously the scale's broken. Obviously, the breaching method's still there. And we have better like that. You just go like you give the people the right to do, oh, we can't do it with the law. That's why they have to address the law. See, we have to do it from out here, though. Because at those locations, we get those locations humming by that which is its identity relationship to itself, and the value of that, and the contemplation led by it, leading our questions why. Beginning with the question of why we question. Or we lose this here. It is forced from here. The IDs, forced space nature transfer for YouTube answer for Anthony Watt. I didn't read that. I discerned that from nature itself. Discern Earth's a special difference. discern how we have the same color eyes, different color eyes at the same exact time. See, with Boolean logic, with the value of what is clicked, agreed, even if it's a contract, clicked, agreed to, they measured and maintained people who speak for the law formally or informally, leaving out collusion/S with the breaching method uses of each name at each location/S. Since semi-ancient times, a criminal re-engineering of the republic for which we stand that comes with English, that comes with nature itself. And the English was revealed to be taught, appreciating how the sciences share an identity of hyperrelativity to lead them. Boxing, martial arts, and wrestling share an identity. This is not a joke. This is about predicate acts with facts, people playing games with black and white. People as a hyper-archetypal criminal enterprise, as a means to name that rolls with or as that identity of negative value nature progressions, acts in nature, that identity causing it, maintaining it. Also simultaneously blamed on other things, others ourselves. But that part is self-cultivated. As that which is that is which it maintains. Fluent through our nations. With difference, black pupils. See the suits of ties, counters to them, and exceptions. They have rules with mental health. They have rules with descriptions of people and of instances, negative value nature, progressions, acts, and natures, like where and how they become mixed with hospitals, for example, when people get hurt physically. They left out how, before that happened, the breaching method knew that would happen. Already had a bunch of fakes with the law there. Hartford Hospital has people involved with criminally foreign influence, forging names, doing other tricks when they force you to sign it or they're going to stab you, and they lie what came first. Increasingly with people from other areas who planted evidences on my street, who have roles in wire crimes and Wethersfield police, switching and forging names, all kinds of falsified police reports. Nothing personal, too. Where it is personal, too. They're planting fake motivations because they are increasingly timed collusions with a whole bunch of other countries' intelligence bodies and overt criminal enterprises. In military, for example, not just the interbranch names involved with this. Tactically delusions rot, too. So there's the Leahy family, and there are people that work with Hartford Hospital that sought me out, all exceptions, exception nature, and demonstrations, same thing. They sought me out to confess, demonstrate, record, confirm things. I didn't respond to them. They put me in whole fake conversations with them. And then they do tricks like then they did tricks and then try to make it look like a fake exceptions after. How they cover that up too. Because 2 other times. 3 times they forced me for mental health evaluation at Hartford Hospital. And I didn't know that, but the people they run in there, their patients, criminals, their family members, those of their workers, those of people associated with places. And I swear to God, under oath, on everything, I never told anyone I wanted to commit suicide in my life. I don't want to. I think about it when I want to do it. In other words, they have people associated with a suicide prevention hotline, and their family members are one. They have family members of people of the Holocaust. They have people with Germany, KKK theme, black theme, military police, Kuwaiti, Afghan. Since I was a little kid, Central Connecticut State University had rolls of people affecting confessions to me from strangers that knew my name and when I was going to come right around the corner. These are increasingly people with mayors and other natures of politicians on off Town Line Drive. And I forgot the name of the place again. I think it's a wooden tap. There are people that built the wooden tap associated with the name. I forgot his name too, because I don't know him. Dominic Abate. Dominic Abate has roles with people with people with the name DeMorrow, people with the World Trade Center, people with the name Kerr, people with the name Cololo, people with the name Corone, people with the name Violet, involved also with market places, involved also with Central Connecticut State University in the campuses they went to. And all along Route 175, they've been planting evidences as people involved with whiting forensics, increasingly involved with people at body dumping spots. And like their roles with names next to Hartford Hospital. Hartford Hospital has a whole bunch of names like Mark Violet, Mike Violet, Joe DeMorrow, a John DeMorrow, a Tony DeMorrow, another Joe DeMorrow. Their families, their religious spots. All along Route 3, they have roles with people on off the state corrections office, on off the state judicial branch offices, conjunctions to it and adjacents to it. Weathersfield Pizza increasingly has roles with them, attaching little kids to fake locations, fake ties to other people, foreign and domestic, a whole bunch of different countries, and people on off Central Connecticut State University, with the Stephen Stocko involved with wire crimes of Weathersfield Police, and intelligence families with the schools at intercities, including more with the principal child offender. More people recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed them. Have a Michael Emmett and have a Mike Levine involved all along Route 3 with people like a Phil Collo and a Bob Chase. And Bob Chase said Phil Collo, and he said the name Christine. Those names are further involved with the principal child offender and the people involved with untimely deaths when I was a kid and now as an adult, who are increasingly involved with whiting forensics at crime scenes, roles with the names next to them too, and planting evidences on all sides of my house are the people involved with the corners of the street there. Has something to do with their roles with the Anthony Agman and their roles with a Danielle Perone and a Tom Perone and their family and their roles with a Michael Kerr and a Jerry Kerr. And there's an officer, Jerry Miller, who more recently recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, planting evidence on all sides of my houses with them. Their roles with fire departments, with an Inspector Mike. These are people with Old Town Cafe and Old Weathersfield involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders. Or Chris Walters with cocaine with his mother, and with the people with the name Bose at Trinity College involved with Ray Cololo and my past neighbors, planting evidences with the FBI and Weathersfield Police and mayors and people with the name Zano. Paul Zano said people with the name Puzo. I never had a conversation with Puzo in my life. They tried to take a picture near me. I had no words with them. I was another manners around them. These are people increasingly involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders against me. People with the name Zano. There's a Jack Zano. There's a Paul Zano. I never met the Jack Zano. WTNH has roles with digital crimes, with women with Hartford courts and the Britain Superior Court, Middletown courts, involved with digital child offenders and with the military and the FBI. I didn't know it was FBI director. I didn't know their names. Hartford courts and the FBI and military police, foreign and domestic, they affected confessions to me, also with their family members and intimate ties and uses of that. that were singularly used too, timed collusions. These are uses of dean's kids and of principal's kids. When he said, she said, where people are going to leave out details, they're having people repeat things, and then they're just asking themselves questions about things that they said that are fake because they're using all investigators remotely, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw, how they have motivations to it. We have to address how they were abused the same way I caught them abusing the kids sickly distinctly. There are conscious uses of tactically juxtaposed distinct natures of organized crime manifest at the same time. Self-value uses of it by a certain type of victim slash hyper victim only allowed to know how to think, or that body is sensed, even if that body is a majority of people. Again, even if it is a majority of countries, black pupils. This semi-ancient breaching discern that we have that how and understood how nature would demonstrate itself. So it put slavery in enforced roles with that sustained, and with it black and white, black pupils, because it knew how nature communicates and would it answer our question, because it does answer our questions about, and it communicates with difference, because every difference is its own. And it's showing us how it is hyper additional nature. It is making more and more forever nature through temporary slash lasting space nature. And this comes with the value of the contemplation, with it leading what is why and how and when, like seasons. But now this has been applied to our system tactical terror. How and why we hunger has. What we think about why. How we speak about value, exceptions, exception nature, black pupils. There are tactically delusions wrought too. So people trace the path of justice, of legislation. They leave out that, to measure and maintain, because they're shown to do this. Make the identity of physics simultaneously bigger than and simultaneously smaller than it is. Tactical terror from how nature uses it. Nature uses simultaneous slash hyper simultaneous, not just what is warm. See, but nature uses the difference between criminal insidious, criminally foreign influence, or tactical delusions wrought natures of positives, positive value nature progressions, as criminal insidious natures of ones. But not because people are criminals, for how nature shows it, except for how nature's not being allowed to show it. And the criminals were used remotely already. And they were shown needs to hide that already. And they already hid it. And then that showed to them again. While they're being shown they need to hide it to come. So these are people on off WFSB and Fox Connecticut News as people involved with digital crimes with WTNH, fabricating emails with Weathersfield Police and intelligence communities, foreign and domestic, on off Central Connecticut State University, including the people who trained the police forms. So Whiting's for forensics when I was a kid, they had roles of murders and people next to murder spots, increasingly who are increasingly involved with other murder spots. There was a girl who reportedly dragged to her death, even if it was to make her establish undercover or whatever. A Ray Clow and Timothy O'Brien, Andrew O'Brien. They have roles with a whole bunch of people on off the state capitol and spots next to it. planting evidences and they're with the intelligence community. A Jonathan Mayan recorded, sought me out after they graduated, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. They've been putting me in fake locations with Jonathan Mayan before that. Has something to do with Chuck Casper too. And I don't know the rest of the people in their families and his sister. I don't even know her name. I never met her. I only know him seeking me out to plant evidences. And I never responded. I never heard of this verbal conversation ever. Chuck Casper has something to do with planting evidences with people on off the state capital of Connecticut, increasingly involved and tied as the people involved with confessions tied to the World Trade Center and the court next to it, as people involved with Central Connecticut State University and Trinity College increasingly. So there's a Chick Casper who has been planting evidences with foreign and domestic military and mayors and people next to the state capitol involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders with them. And their educators. They have roles with the intelligence community, a former Mayor Gold, and people there's a Robert Heimgartner who sought me out before. They put me in a sixth grade class, put me fake ties, fake natures of ties to a Robert Heimgartner, increasingly involved with people planting evidences with classes before that too. Then when I was in fifth grade, these are people increasingly involved with overt criminal enterprises and private ones with little kids and the interbranch countering it at the same time. They're getting away with it because they have a whole bunch of other countries involved with it. They have people from Korea increasingly involved with the ones with the name tied to a Ray Clo and a Joe DeMoro with the Koreans that planted sequence ships and with a Daryl Chandler. And I don't know his sister's name and family's name. There's someone with the name Daryl Chandler who sought me out to record, confess, demonstrate, confirmed. He has roles with putting predicate acts, putting fake things in databases at campuses, identity theft, fraud, slanders against people not even in their grade. Make a fake exception one time and try in the hallway to commit in the cafeteria. I mean, rather, and then pretend that they know you. Then one time at a Grange Hall near this Old Town Cafe, after my class graduated, and he was involved with the people increasingly planting evidences with my principal too. I had on like my different principles. They were playing them, putting fake things in databases. These are people also involved with Washington D.C. Increasingly, whatever they have something to do with Sound View, and a Jonathan Mayano, and a Mike Roberts, and a Mike Pandolf, and people with the name Mazzucato involved with judges and prosecutors and foreign and domestic military, people involved with all sides with the World Trade Center attack. Luigi Guerrera and his sister, and I don't know how many sisters he has, and she has. Well, but they're increasingly involved with confessions about the people involved with predicate acts leading up to in the World Trade Center attack, the context and since that the intelligence community has recorded themselves with an extent of consciousness that they have criminally foreign influence uses of words like privacy to cut to where and how they have roles with torture to measure and maintain. People are going to hide details for themselves. People are going to hide reality from themselves and self-value to tactical delusions with themselves while they're having been used remotely criminally foreign influence. These are also people with a Jeremy Grohl with the state corrections offices and the intelligence community on off the state community center on all sides of the community center. People involved with fire departments with Russians and Americans and medical campuses. Hartford Hospital has people with the name Brendan Leahy and women in their family involved with attaching me to fake conversations with myself. I mean, with themselves and with my own family members since I was a kid. These are people attaching they're spying on kids too, and increasingly demonstrating and confessing collusions. So there's a Brian Silver and there's a detective Soulsby, a prosecutor named Soulsby, and there was a retired Judge Smith, and there are other judges involved planting evidences increasingly with an Eric Mendez and others with his family, involved with medical and sexual and other natures of abuses of kids, including with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, and and as counters to types of things, with the only release for the kids are collusion, our men and women as collusions, where and how it is relative, where and how they have roles with the intercampuses, predicate acts methods that are recorded. They should not have hid what I recorded the campuses intercities being used for since I was a kid. They've been hiding this from the parents. They've been confessing a whole bunch of things when they've been repeating about their roles and about their opinions about transsexualism and everything else. They're leaving out their roles with sexual abuses and sexual harassment of people. In other words, they're showing the kids that they don't know how to think about the law properly or speak about it properly. And this is what the breaching method showed, including the leaders of modern countries. They don't know how to speak for the law, all except the people who know how the best, using it, using the knowledge of good and evil. So to speak on the people, whispered Creek. So Connecticut Interbranch has been switching names and forging names. The Facebook page of the Britain Superior Court has a bunch of Facebook pages after they first have ones with rape threats. These are people with little punk games because there are prosecutors and judges who then pretend the other people are playing punk games. Because these are the ones that are forging names and switching names from Connecticut who are involved with the World Trade Center, Ninth Circuit Court next to it, with all sides in criminal and civil cases being attached to fake words, changed words, fake ties to other people, fake natures of ties to other people, because before the World Trade Center attack, all sides were already being used remotely, criminally, foreign influence, tactically, delusions, raw, all groupings of humanity. Then they're going to voice humanity is going to be a value. It's a value nature system that they're tactical ulterior from increasingly. So we need to have mandated law followed properly and with care and love. Otherwise, we need to sense that. Had we done this, we would have saw what was coming with the border problems, where the problem, where things that are positive and negative about it, forced me to be only accepted, only valued tactical terror from how everyone wants it and needs it. We can make hyper positives out of negatives. We're sick of making criminal and citizen natures of positives that are only collusions against ourselves at countries A through Z since ancient times. When did they have the right to glorify any name, leaving out how all databases were criminally foreign influenced? When did they have the right to vilify any name, leaving out roles with the criminally foreign influence database, uses of names at other locations /s, not just those former locations, black pupils. Before cars were even built, there were means to, and there were longings to build out of the tactically denatured suburbs design, reliant upon value nature systems now tactical terror from nature's more and more. Overtly / insidiously. The only way this can be denied is if the cities are denied, how the cities are denied. The only way that can be denied too, they have to compare it. The only way you can do that is to self-value roles with discorrelation by what our founders told us to correlate as the breaching method. Involvement. The breaching method had more involvements with the design of the suburbs before our founders were born, specifically to have what was only capable of unfolding as cities across the world. You know, to have them cause negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, blame the other things, others, ourselves, have everyone relying upon types of experts, group think, use a phrase I believe reportedly used by a Donald Rumsfeld, reported by MSNBC, Fox News, or CNN. So WFSB attached me to fake words with them, and they lied about their motivations for it because they have roles with the intelligence community that lives next to them. And these are the same ones next to Fox Connecticut News in Hartford, Connecticut, in the buildings next to them, increasingly with wire crimes with the news locations and print locations, increasingly in people in criminal enterprises have roles with family members of journalists associated with Franklin, Connecticut, and various criminal enterprises where they've been planting evidences with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, various natures of prosecutors, judges, various natures of courts used remotely criminally foreign influence, rules of wire crime, mail crime methods before they had ricin, even if that was made up. It's involved with their rules with terrorism, torture before the World Trade Center attack, and uses of countering that with torture to measure and maintain they're not going to get in trouble. Same thing, these are people involved with the corrections, the training of the corrections officers. Central Connecticut State University has roles with people who train criminal justice. They have people that work with communications, people that work with the acting department, involved in intercities planting evidences, and with various natures of predicate acts with facts. Now, forgiveness is to not leave out the breaching of the foreign body's roles, also with a hyper foreign body, and with their readings of statutes. They have roles with lawyers for the FBI, a lawyer for the FBI, for the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, his lawyer, Robert Chevrolet, also the lawyer of a Thaddeus Grabowski on Fox Connecticut News as one of the people involved on off Two-Rod Highway and Hangdog Lane and their conjunctions and adjacents to it, involved with the like the state judicial branch office, state corrections officers, involved with federal crimes with evidences at those locations and with names associated increasingly. People with the name Dillon, Kevin Dillon, Annie Dillon, Annie Dillon, the difference. These are people involved with the court switching names. Please get them on paper, one name, and get them. They put me to faked emails, faked writing. They hid my last email, but right before the new year. Judge Napolitano, Weathersfield Police. They painted themselves in corners with other police departments and other police forms associated with the name Cololo. Also involved with the Sullivan, who didn't give the whole name. There's a Darren Sullivan, who also has roles with switching names and planting evidences with the FBI and the lawyers, and with the deans and people involved on and off campuses with predicate acts before the World Trade Center, and with judges and prosecutors and the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. They were planting evidences with foreign and domestic military at West Hartford locations, and with the people from Weathersfield who've been doing that through time. Has something to do with their roles with EMS. Ray Cololo and Joe DeMoro said so they repeated the name. What's his name? That's the only reason I feel like I remember him, that name. With a dude, Rich Doobie. I never had a class with Rich Doobie. I never saw him around. A Rich Doobie has roles with people at West Farms Mall. There's a Jordan Furniture, and there's a Trantolo and Trantolo that the networks have industries the networks have intelligence community increasingly demonstrating roles with them, with planting evidences, wire crime acts and methods with judges and prosecutors, who have them also roles with their difference, because they've been used also at times collusion with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and people next to body dumping spots and leaders of the kids' child centers. The same family members and names associated with their acts and methods and scams involved with elderly homes and veteran homes, and the names next to them also used. That's manifest that way because of how it is a fact human nature oriented method that used and uses us originally and still. For example, regarding the predicate acts with facts method that has been blamed on other things, others ourselves, rather than blaming it on the method itself, too. That which put those crazy laws in place before our founders were born. Our founders communicated for us not to leave out how they did not have free speech, why they didn't have free speech, how that to wanted us to understand how that breaching method sensed what everyone was going to say relative to what it caused and maintained, and simultaneously maintained, blamed on other things, others ourselves. It propagated that as an outcome slash as and a self value, a self cultivated one, and that's increasingly an outcome. That's increasingly cells of natures of logic that increasingly value this having been. So it makes readings of statutes from the past, leaving out this relativity to Marbury versus Madison. There's a difference from that in the past and those other past laws. Boxings. I teach just things. Please get them on paper, one name in sequence. Judge Napolitano, let's go, please. Attend. Let's go. Get the Wethersfield Police. There's other police chief years ago involved with the same house slash S with predicate acts with them. And it's nothing personal. All exception nature, they need to pretend other because they have foreign bodies involved. You just need to get them on paper. They brought their names up. All exceptions too, they played that. We could observe this.